Today on the Boise Beat, we're joined by an artist who's got chart-topping singles, over 250 live shows a year, and a story that's as powerful as his music. Tyler Herwig is a singer-songwriter who turned personal battles with addiction into songs of healing, love, and redemption, all while raising a family and building an independent music career, one heartfelt lyric at a time. From the soaring success of Living in the Last Days to the intimate storytelling of Honey, That's You, Tyler's music is as real as it gets. Tyler, what's happening, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. Thanks for jumping on here, spending some time with me. I'm excited to get to know you a little bit. The listeners get to know you a little bit as well. And yeah, you got so many cool things I want to talk to you about. You juggle so many different hats: artist, writer, singer-songwriter, dad, husband. Right? How do you juggle all the things? First of all,
Oh gosh, years of practice and one day at a time. And sometimes minute by minute. You know, it's. I think a big piece of it is you have to remember what's most important. For me, that's my wife and my kids. So regardless of what I'm doing, whether I'm in an interview like this or on stage, they come first. So put them above all else, and then everything else just seems to fall into place.
yeah, prioritization. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. So you got some discipline already kind of dialed in your life. It sounds like then as an artist and
Absolutely.
all the things.
Absolutely. You got to be disciplined. I mean, part of being a artist and a singer songwriter is you gotta never give up, and you gotta just kind of keep going. So when life throws you lemons, make some lemonade out of it, and take your aggression out in something productive. So if I'm having a bad day, I'm gonna write a song about how I had a bad day, and if I have a good day, write a song about how I had a good day. That always keeps me moving forward.
Nice. Well, let me tap into that then, because it sounds like a lot of what you write about and construct as an artist does stem from your real life and things that you're just experiencing
Yeah,
as a person. Is that correct?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So, because I see sometimes, many individuals will try to come up with themes thematically about, something that they think, oh, this is going to resonate well with audiences. But I don't know, from what I've gathered and read and listened to your songs, it's like, oh, this guy's just, he's taking what he's experiencing and he's crafting a piece to it, and he's trying to connect it with audiences and seeing who will resonate with it the most. And that
Yeah.
seems to be the case, huh?
Yeah, I mean, there's two themes I write about in my music. It's either addiction and recovery or my family, and I really stick to those two things. And I think I'm very blessed to have those two particular topics be where my passion for music lies, and like the stories that I want to
Mm,
tell. They're about those two things, but both those things resonate with so many people.
absolutely.
Addiction affects everybody, and depending on what lens you want to listen to the song through, like you could take a song about addiction, it could just be about a bad breakup at times.
Mm,
Family, like most people have families. Now, not everybody has kids. I get that, but we fantasize about having kids, or we've got a niece or a nephew or a friend with a child, and we can all kind of just tap into those feelings. And so they're very accessible topics, but they happen so organically. It's also just where I am in life.
yeah, no, absolutely. I didn't want to dive into the deep end of the pool already, but you mentioned it, so I want to get there with this arena of addiction that was in your life, because I read about that.
Yeah,
Um, just seen little glimpses of it, and I would like to tap into that because, as you mentioned, so many people can relate to it, and your vehicle to do that is through music and how you communicate the messaging behind it and how you healed, etc., or are healing if it's
yeah.
still a journey that you're through. Talk to me about that series, if you would, or a session of your life that you went through and how this unfolded.
Yeah, I mean, it all kind of started for me when I was a teenager, just messing around, trying to make friends. You start doing what high schoolers and junior hires do, which is start experimenting with drugs and alcohol. And for me, it stayed controlled until I got to college. And I started performing a lot more. So I was in bars and wineries and breweries, and the place where people drink heavily. And then I was at college, so I was going to college parties and messing around there, and it started to grow. It was this really slow fade from like a fun thing to do on the weekends, or like to kick back and just relax after work or something. and became this thing that I couldn't stop doing. And I think at the peak of my drinking career, I was going through about a liter of vodka every day,
Wow.
as well as I was mixing in all sorts of other chemicals, from weed to cocaine, and like it was everything. It was all the things because I couldn't. I got to a place where not only could I not function without it, but I didn't feel like I was myself without it.
Hmm.
And it took a lot of mistakes and consequences, in some pretty severe circumstances to get me to wake up and realize that if I kept making the choices I was going to make, that I was going to die. And it also kind of opened my eyes to the fact that I was hurting a lot of other people besides myself,
Hmm.
and it was actually really selfish of me to continue down the path of addiction and not try and figure out what sobriety would look like for me. Um, and right around the time that COVID happened, actually shortly before COVID happened, is when I made the decision that I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I really wanted to get healthy. And then COVID shut the world down. Music kind of died out for that year because there were no venues doing events, and I was very blessed to have basically been forced into a year where all I could do was focus on getting healthy, and my eyes were open to all of the damage that I had caused throughout my life, and I wanted to find a way to make amends to those people. But it also became a mission of mine to help other people not feel the way that I was feeling, and that's what I like to write about. So you'll hear it throughout my music. I kind of have a cycle of I talk about addiction in one song, and then the next release will be like a breakup of some kind, and then the next release will be, oh, I found a new love, and then it's my wife and my kids, right? And I kind of cycle through this story that cohesively brings all of my songs together, and it's really to demonstrate to people that like life sucks sometimes, but if we keep failing, which is it's okay to fail, but as long as we fail, we learn from it and we fail forward as opposed to falling backward,
Yeah.
like good things are coming. And now I'm at a place in my life where I get to do music full time as a career. I get to travel all over the country, and I'm going on my first international tour literally next week.
Wow. That's
Europe, which is super exciting, and I get to bring my wife and my kids and my parents along with me on this adventure. It's so beautiful and so exciting, and I really can't recommend sobriety to more people. But I mean, it's just one of those things where if you're struggling, I want to let you know there's hope.
I seen you say at one particular juncture that music became your therapy after addiction. What was the first song that you wrote where you thought, "Hey, this is like actually helping me heal, and this is part of the process of it"?
Yeah, it was a song. It's a song I released a few years ago called Enough. It's on all streaming platforms, so I encourage you guys to go check it out and send me a DM and let me know what you think. But that was a song that I wrote as an apology to all of the people that I hurt, and as an apology to the people that were always willing to try their best for me, even when I wasn't willing to try my best for myself. And it was really inspired uh, by the thought of a couple of my exes, that I was not a very nice guy. I was a total jerk, and I was very selfish and just horrible. But they kept trying to make the relationship work, and I just couldn't. I couldn't do it because I was in this mode of like let's self destruct. And when I got clean, I wanted to find a way to apologize to them, but I figured like, hey, one of them in particular was married and had kids. The other one was in a new relationship, and I was like, how weird would it be for me like years later to reach out and be like, hey, I'm sorry that I was mean to you 5 years ago. Like
Hmm.
felt inappropriate, especially since they were in other relationships at the time. And so I was like, I'm gonna write a song. I'm gonna release the song, and I'm gonna kind of make that my center focus with the hopes that maybe one day it'll make it on the radio, and the people that I hurt will hear it and accept my apology indirectly. And that's brought me a lot of comfort. But that was the song that really kind of started me down this path.
Wow. Okay. So a lot of different shifts that were occurring during this season of your life.
Oh,
What would you say? Go ahead.
it was a busy time, that's for sure.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of internal introspection, right? Like a lot of introspection about who you are as a person and
Yeah.
what you're doing and why you're doing it. I could see how that would be a lot of fuel for what you're doing, especially creatively. During this particular shift, if you would, from when you were living one way and then you got sober and you ended up moving into this other direction where now you're contemplating the decisions that you made, contemplating what you're doing as an artist and as a person, even more so. Um, how did that shift your songwriting? Not just lyrically, but in terms of why you make your music the way that you do.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely shifted my songwriting in many ways, but probably one of the main things it did is I used to write songs, um, kind of in the back of my mind, I would think like that would play well on radio. Like
Hmm.
I could see that going somewhere. And now I don't really do that. Um,
Hmm.
part of that is the blessing of social media has continued to grow, and so you can have a lot of success without mainstream radio success. The other
Yeah.
part though is that I've learned here over the last few years that like the right people will resonate with my story and they'll
Hmm.
kind of find me. Like the algorithm's good that way. If I keep talking
Yeah.
about addiction and being a dad, um, then people that are interested in addiction in some way, shape, or form, or being a parent or, you know, husband, whatever, they'll end up finding me. And so as long as I keep just doing what I'm doing and I do it as authentically and honestly as I can, like
Hmm.
fa- fans will come. I may never have a number one on the radio, but if I can uh, rest my head on the pillow at the end of the day, at the end of the day, saying like I think I helped somebody today with this song, then like it was a really good day.
Yeah. Absolutely. That resonates with me a ton because in the marketing realm, it's been said that, the audience that you're after, they already exist. They just haven't discovered you yet. So it's creating enough content authentically and genuinely like yourself where people can then discover it. And it sounds like that's what you tap into. You already know that
Yeah.
yet there's an audience for you. You're just creating the content so that they can actually find you and you're doing it genuinely. So that resonates with me a ton. But as far as success is concerned on some of your tracks, you have had some notoriety, specifically with like, your singles, Living in the Last Days, which I want to talk to you about a little bit. What's the real story behind that song and what does it mean to you now that you have it and if and when you play it live?
Yeah. So that it's such an interesting song to me. So it all was in that song was inspired. I wrote it during COVID, and you know, if we can flash back in our minds here for a moment. Everyone thought the world was ending, and we were all going to die. Um,
Yeah.
and so I kept hearing people say, like, we're living in the last days, like this is the end. Like, regardless of what side of the political spectrum you were on, most people were freaking out to some degree. Like
Yeah.
maybe some more than others, but like I kept hearing it that we were living in the last days. And I didn't fully like I was precautious, don't get me wrong, but like I didn't think that the world was ending. Like this was not World War Z and we're all gonna become zombies and like
Hmm.
humanity's on its last legs. Like I had more hope. But I started thinking about what it was like for me when I was in the like when did I feel that way? And for me it was always in the middle of like a breakup. Like I had been in so many relationships that I could see they were coming to an end because of the thing
Hmm.
I was doing and the choices I was making, but like
Yeah.
wasn't going to be the one to like cut the cord. And
Hmm.
that's where this song came from is you're kind of you're a guy or a gal who's made a lot of mistakes and you're just kind of waiting for the call where you get dumped, you know? And that song ended up I released it back in September of 2023, so a couple years ago now. And it ended up charting on indie country radio in the US to I think 8. It was
Hmm.
7 or 8 in the US on indie country here and then 4 over in the United Kingdom.
It's
Uh,
awesome.
so it just did really really well. It got picked up by a bunch of radio stations and kind of started a ball rolling that I was not expecting and shifted me from more of the let's say like the pop singer songwriter kind of field to more of a country singer song like pop country singer songwriter field. And I think it was honestly it was something I never expected to happen, but has ended up being one of the greatest things ever because the stories that I have to tell just seem to fit so well in that pop country genre.
Yeah, absolutely. Along that same train of thought, one of the other recent tracks that you have, Honey, That's You.
Yeah.
Understand it was inspired by, a quiet family moment that some might not even observe or pay attention to? Like, what's the secret sauce, if you would, of how you capture, a special moment and turn it into something universal that people can connect with?
Yeah, I mean, there's an awareness that I think people have to train. Like you have to be observant of what's actually happening in your life, not just going through the motions. And then I think the other big piece is you have to have gratitude for all of those.
Hmm.
Like you got to be looking throughout your day because it can be the most mundane things.
Right.
For that song in particular, my wife and I took our daughter to Disney World for a family vacation, and I made the mistake of taking them to Disney World in the middle of June, which is when Florida is hot and rainy and gross, and so I was miserable and complaining, and my wife was just overjoyed the whole trip.
Mhm.
And there was this particular moment where our daughter went up and saw Mickey Mouse, like the guy in the costume for the very first time. And I look over at my wife and she's just got this giant smile on her face and is like weeping these like happy tears.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's when it clicked for me. I was like, okay, wait, how lucky am I to have someone in my life
Hmm.
who chooses joy? Like
Yeah.
she actively chooses to be happy despite the circumstances around her. And that's great for her, but that actually makes me the luckiest guy in the world because I have someone in my life to help pick me up when I'm down. And it was that awareness of that moment, and then the gratitude for my wife being just who she is, that
Yeah.
kind of gave life to the song "Honey, That's You." And that song really thinks about like it's the third verse where it says, "When I'm 80 years old, our kids are married and grown. Um, I know who I'll still be holding on to." You know
Hmm.
that line,
Hmm.
that's the crux of the song because it's like I could be here in the middle of shit, or
Hmm.
I could be 80 years old looking back on my life, but as long as I've got this person next to me, I know it was a good life.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. What a great perspective to have on life in general, man. That's so cool. Um, one of the other things I wanted to pick your brain about was, as an artist. I mean, you mentioned the UK stint that you're piecing together, right? But over 250 shows a year, right? Is that
Yeah.
did I read right? Because, man, that's some serious hustle. Like, some people struggle with just getting a few in a month, right? During the summertime when it's the busiest. Like, how do you do it? How do you protect your energy? How do you like keep yourself motivated, especially with that kind of a schedule?
I mean, there's a couple things. One is I didn't just like jump into do. I think so. Last year I did 286 shows. I
Wow.
think this year I'm looking at doing about like 280, 290, somewhere between there. It'll kind of depend if there's cancellations due to weather. So you know, it's not something that I jumped into like day one. So
Yeah.
I've been very blessed to have a career that has grown slowly. Um, and I know most people want to become like a overnight sensation. Like that's a good way to get burnt out because you don't know
Mhm.
what you're for. Versus like I've added 5 shows a year to my schedule for 15 years, and
Wow.
you know that adds up over time. So that's been a real blessing. The other thing is I kind of call it my performer switch, which is like
Mhm.
this mental switch I have in the old noggin here, where I can tell myself like, look, regardless of what kind of day I'm having, my job is to make you forget about whatever kind of day you're having and just be
Mhm.
present in the moment,
Yeah.
at the show. And so if I come out on stage and I'm like, "Hey guys, I'm having a bad day, like I'm really sad." Like you're going to want to leave. You're not
Right.
you're not going to want to hang out and have fun. So like regardless of how I'm feeling, I got to be happy. I got to find a
Mhm.
smile and be happy and just be grateful that I'm doing the thing I love to do. It's a lot of hard work, but like I'm living the American dream at the very least. I'm a guy who sings songs full time. I get to travel the world with my wife and my kids and make other people smile. Like
Yeah.
what more could I ask for than that? Whether I become the next Ed Sheeran or I
Mhm.
a guy that sings like smaller, listening rooms and theaters and stuff, like who cares? I'm doing
Yeah.
what I love, and the impact I can have on people's lives is so much more important than fame or success.
Absolutely. And the fact that you share your story so openly, as well as mentioned earlier, and the way that you connect and resonate with fans openly about these moments in your life, like, I want to know if there's any moments that you can share about, people that you have impacted, maybe that they reached out to you, and you finally saw, you're like, wow, I'm doing more than just making good music, but I'm actually impacting somebody's life by the messaging that I'm constructing. Have you had any kind of moments like that?
Oh yeah. I won't give away anyone's like personal information, but there's been a lot of moments like that. Like I think I'm in a really cool place in my career where like I'm big enough to do some cool things. You know, like do a European tour. Like that's cool. I'm big enough. I've played at the CMA Fan X for a couple years. I've opened for some major artists. So like I get to do cool things every once in a while, but I'm not big enough to where like I've got to have a team of people to do everything for me. And
Mm-hmm.
so I get people that come into my DMs on like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, or they're on my email list. And on my email list, I share stories that I don't tell publicly because I can get a little bit more personal. And people reply to those emails with their own stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm at a place where I get to actually just sit down every day and read them and respond to them.
Yeah.
Been so cool. I mean, it like, man, talk about making your job worth it. When you start hearing from people that like, hey, this song you wrote, this piece of art you created, like saved my life. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was on the brink and I heard your song on some random Spotify playlist as I thought I was gonna shut the lights off for the last time.
Mm-hmm.
And it got me to not do that. Like
Wow.
it makes everything worth it. The amount of gratitude I have for my fans is it's overwhelming at times. Like I can't tell you how many times. I'm not like a crier, but if my fans email me like, man, I'm gonna cry 9 times out of 10 because it just
Mm-hmm.
much that they accept me, flaws and all. But that also me sharing my flaws, which I think is something people don't do. Like we carry
Yeah.
shame as people. Like I just want to let you know who I am, and if me being who I am helps you be a better version of you, then I'll be damned if I'm gonna not tell my story.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's awesome. Clearly you don't like being boxed in, and that's evident with the wide array of music that you produce and you kind of play in and out with. Um, was that something that came naturally as a progression of you being, an artist who's seeking new ways to express yourself, or was it something you had to kind of fight through? Like, I want to know about the, I don't know, philosophical and really like just mental process of what you had to go through in order to say, hey, I'm willing to venture outside the traditional lines of what may seem appropriate or what may be perceived by myself or those supporting you. What was that process like?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it was inspired by the fact that I kind of started the first 10 years of my career. I was doing almost exclusively cover songs, right? I was your typical bar musician standing in a corner, and I still do a lot of that. But um, it because of what that style of musicianship requires, it requires you just kind of know everything. You
Yeah.
know, you never know what kind of audience you're walking into. Versus now when I do like ticketed events and stuff, like I kind of know they're there to see me, so like I can play my
Hmm.
own stuff, and I know they're gonna have fun. Um, but so it started off a little bit as like, okay, I like all of these kinds of music because I've been playing them for so long. And then it was a little bit of genre confusion because I was like,
Mm,
really focusing on like my own originals. And then I had to figure out like, well, what do my songs, what the heck do they sound like? You know,
yeah.
like I play them on an acoustic guitar every day, but when it's fully produced at the end of the day, the song that everyone else is going to hear, is it going to be a pop song? Is it going to be like prog rock or like death metal? Like I have no idea. And so there was kind of this phase of experimentation. And you can hear it in my first few releases where everything was very like cut and dry, like Jason Mraz, but like bad Jason Mraz at first for the first like 6 songs. And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna slow down my release schedule, get some money behind it, hire a person who can produce better than I can. Um, did that. That went like full country, and I was like, well, that doesn't feel like me. Then I swung over to like super like Justin, like early Justin Bieber pop, and I was like, that doesn't feel like me. What's the middle ground? And I landed in this place is that I always tell people it's like if you took Dan and Shay and Ed Sheeran and you kind of smushed them together.
mm,
That's my genre. So call it country pop, call it pop country, call it whatever you want to call it. That's what my music sounds like, and it just feels like that's the spot that's the most authentic to me. and the stories that I have to tell. But it's a lot of playing around. And if I tell myself this all the time, that like when I produce a song now, I want to produce it however is going to best serve the song and like the story I'm trying to tell. So if I write a song and it feels like it needs to be like a Garth Brooks style country, then I'll make it Garth Brooks style country. If I write a new song and it feels like it needs to be Justin Bieber, then I'll do that. But for now, where I'm at with the kind of stories I'm telling, it feels very Dan and Shay, Ed Sheeran esque.
Yeah. Well, that's nothing wrong with that either. That's
Music.
awesome.
I
Yeah,
like it.
exactly. Yeah. Well, with everything that you've built up until this point, the music, the family, the fan base, what would you say is the thing that you're most proud of so far at this juncture?
I mean, the fan base is great. Don't get me wrong, but I said at the very beginning, the thing that always comes first on my priority list is my family.
Yeah.
And so, um, seeing, uh, my wife go from, this just beautiful woman that I loved into a mother who now gets to raise our kids, alongside me has been amazing. And seeing my daughter's 3, my son is 6 months, so he's a little too young to like have some of the same kind of core memories. He's just a big ball of squish. But my
Yeah.
daughter, she's 3 and she's talking and walking, and we get to play together, and we get to she comes out on stage with me, and we get to sing songs together in front of hundreds of people. And that is the most fulfilling thing, is seeing my daughter fall in love with music the way that I love music. It's an
Well,
indescribable feeling.
yeah. That's amazing. That's cool. You really are living the American dream. This is
I'm
pretty cool.
telling you, man, it's like I said, it's hard work. I work 12-hour days, 7 days a week at minimum. Uh,
Hmm.
but I freaking love what I do. So it's
Yeah.
okay.
That's awesome. Man, this has been phenomenal. Appreciate getting to know you a little bit, Tyler. We're going to keep diving into this. Definitely going to be sharing your content and your music here within the write up, or anybody that's listening to this as well. You can catch it in the show notes and whatnot. But anything you want to leave us with as far as projects you're working on, things that are coming down the pipeline, any of that jazz?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple new songs on the docket. One coming out later this August, called "First to Be Last." It'll be going straight to radio, actually.
Mm,
So really
okay.
excited for that. So be listening to your radio. You might just hear me pop up. And then I'd love to, have you guys connect with me on my social media. I live stream on TikTok every single show. So if you want to know what I sound
Great.
like live, come check out my TikTok, or give me a follow on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube or TikTok at Tyler Herwig Music, and let me know what you think of my music. I'm always looking to learn and grow.
Tyler, been a pleasure, brother. Thank you for hopping on here with me.
Anytime.